Alright, hello everyone. This is Vornhoult here, and I have a build video today, which is utilizing again one of my favorite LMGs, which is the Pestilence, and this is trying to get as much of rate of fire as I can for the Pestilence. So without further ado, let's get right to it. The Specializations, I'm using the Gunner one because of the added rate of fire whenever we get a kill. So rate of fire increases by 5% on kill for 5 seconds. You also get this one. So every third reload is 50% faster using the LMG. You all know that the reload time for it is rather long compared to other weapons. So this is a good addition to the build. And then always welcome, the killing enemies grants 10% armor. And as you know, with the Gunner specialization, armor kits repair 100% armor and grants 30% bonus armor for 10 seconds. Alright, so just making sure that you have the increased damage for LMG attributed as well. So yeah, that's it. And we go right into the build. So the two weapons that I'm using are both LMGs. So the first one is the Infantry MG5 replica that I have. So not the best rolls in this one, so just 10% LMG damage. Looking for a better damage roll for this weapon, but it has 10% damage to target out of cover and 8% critical hit chance. This is a good addition to the build. And we have the talent Frenzy. So for this build, the talent, for every 10 bullets in the magazine capacity, gain 3% rate of fire and 3% weapon damage for 5 seconds when reloading from empty. So you get at most with this build is almost around, it depends on whether you're using the attachment for this one, the 50 rounds, or you're not, but it's highly recommended that you are. So with 100 magazine, you get around 30% rate of fire and 30% weapon damage for 5 seconds when reloading from empty. And the good thing about this one is because the MG5 has a high fire rate already, it's almost as if you have the buff almost 100, almost I think 90% up all the time. So yeah, this is a good secondary weapon for this build, but the main weapon that I'm using for this is the Pestilence. As you know, Pestilence has the talent Plague of the Outcast, so hits apply a debuff dealing 100% weapon damage over 10 seconds, so this stacks up to 50 times. Whenever an enemy dies with these debuff, all stacks are transferred to a nearby enemy within 25 meters. So yeah, we're utilizing this talent on any of my Pestilence builds. So without further ado, we get into the gears now. So I'm using 3 pieces of Striker's battle gear set, 2 pieces of Providence defense, and a piece of Contractor's gloves. So the first one is the mask. So just an overview of the Striker's set. 2 pieces gives you 15% weapon handling, and 3 pieces gives you 15% rate of fire. So this is the bonus that we are looking for. You could go for 4 piece, but I think it's a good build with, even if you're not going for the Striker's gamble. So this build is what I use currently now in the DZ. But you could have this core attribute as 15% weapon damage if you have it in your recal library for PvE. So you can change the 2 defense stats here into offense ones if you're just going to PvE. But since I'm using this as a DZ build, I think it's much better to have 2 blues, or maybe even 3 if you want, and then 3 reds as well. So this mask has 170,000 armor, 4.2% chance, critical hit chance, and an 11.6% critical hit damage. The backpack I'm using is a first piece of our Providence defense. We go for 2 pieces here just so we can get the 10% critical hit chance as well. And this backpack has 12% weapon damage, 8% headshot damage, 10.9% critical hit damage, and a 12% critical hit damage mod. And it has Vigilance, increases total weapon damage by 25%, and then taking damage disables this buff by for 4 seconds. What we have right here on our chest piece is our second piece of Providence Defense. This has 15% weapon damage, 6% critical hit chance, 12% critical hit damage, an 11.5% critical hit damage mod, and the talent is Obliterate, so critical hits increases total weapon damage by 1% for 5 seconds, and this stacks up to 15%. You could also use a different one, maybe a Braced, just so you can have a more accurate reticle using the Pestilence, but I think Obliterate is a good talent as well. You could go for Glass Cannon too, but I think the build would be too squishy and would defeat the purpose of using it on the DZ, so I think Obliterate is one of the better ones to use. Then next up we have our Contractor's Gloves. So this gives us 10% LMG damage, 15% weapon damage for core attribute, and 8% damage to armor and 12% critical hit damage. And then the second piece of our Striker Battle Gear set, so we have 15% weapon damage here, 6% critical hit chance. And then for the third Striker Gear set, we have the knee pads, which has 170,000 armor and 3.6% critical hit chance. So for PvE or any content, I think you could use any of the skills you want. I like using the Assault Turret together with the Revive Hive, or sometimes I would use the Assault Turret and the Striker Drone. So the skills are all up to you. And then if we look at the stats right here, so this has 87,000 weapon damage, 60% critical hit chance, 115 critical hit damage, and 128 headshot damage. We have 8% armor damage as well. So if we look at the offense, we have 67% all weapon damage bonus and 35% light machine gun damage bonus. Or for our difference, we're up to 1,000,001, and we have 110 armor on kill. So yeah, this is my build. As a showcase for the build, I'll show you how the MG5 fires, how fast the MG5 fires when Frenzy is activated. So we just need to empty our magazine right now. There we go. So once we reload, the Frenzy buff should be on, and look at this fire rate. And you can see it's almost it's empty again, so we can have the buff active once more. And it's just like that. You can almost have it active most of the time because of how fast the MG5 fires. So yeah, that's the build. Do like and comment on the page if you have any suggestions on how to improve this one, and do like and subscribe the page if you want more the Division 2 content, and hit that bell button for the notification. I do try to upload as much as I can for new content, so watch out for that. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Keep on gaming.